All right, everybody. So thank you so much for joining us again. It's Enrique from Canada Living. We are blessed with an amazing young man. He's been, since I met him, it was a random meeting, just complimented him on his dress and his style, fashion. He's a fashionista. And that's how the conversation started. So here we are. So I'm going to let him introduce himself because this is how it works. We're going to walk through the questions and whatnot, but it's a very casual interview kind of thing. Just want to learn, from your background and how we go. So tell me about you. What's your name? Tell us, where you come from, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for having me, Enrique. And thank you so much. You're too kind. Those words. We go way back, right? A couple of years back, met you randomly there, pop a video on Robson. So a bit of a background story there, or some sort of background about myself. My name is HAZEM SULTAN. I work with Remax Crest Realty, obviously here in Vancouver. In terms of what we do, we obviously help clients buy and sell properties in Vancouver. And in terms of sort of personal background, I was born in Saudi Arabia, but I've lived throughout different continents. So I lived in New Zealand for a bit. I lived in UAE for a bit. I lived in Egypt for a bit, London as well. So sort of been around the block, so to speak. And then we moved here when I was 15 years old, back in 2013.
Okay. Wow. That's quite the travel experience, eh? So what made you guys settle in Canada? What brought you to Canada?
Well, that's a good question, Enrique. So, it's a land of opportunities. I mean, North America. I mean, obviously, most people's dreams is to actually come here, whether they hail from the Middle East or even South America and whatnot. It's always sort of it's one of the best options out there for anyone that wants to, find a place where there's opportunity and where there's equal chances for them and then for kids as well. So that's something that attracted my dad. And, my father is sort of, obviously, he's the person that got us here, and he's the visionary. So he's always had Canada on his mind.
All right. And so now I understand that you're a professional, and this has been your goal since you arrived, or so when you guys came to to Canada, did you land straight into Vancouver, and how'd that go?
Yeah, we've always been in Vancouver. I came here when I was 15 years old. I was enrolled at Burnaby Central High School. Wow. So secondary, yeah. So I came here in grade 10, and then, was a Burnaby boy, so to speak, for first 5 years, and then moved to Vancouver. Obviously, as I've mentioned to you before, we used to own a restaurant as well on Robson Street. That's obviously, right. Everyone knows Robson. It's sort of world renowned. We had sort of a table service sort of eatery, and that experience was really eye opening. In terms of building a business here in Vancouver, there's a set of challenges, things that an immigrant, or even someone who's lived here their entire life, there's a few sort of obstacles that sometimes people overlook, or sort of in the side sort of view mirror. So I'm happy to chat about that as well. I'm sure some of your audience is thinking about maybe starting a business here in Vancouver. That's sort of one of their goals.
Well, that's actually one of the reasons why I actually started this channel, because two things. Number one, I want to highlight what we as immigrants are accomplishing, or what we can accomplish. And also another one is for their immigrant brothers and sisters to know where to go to, and that they can trust that person. So for example, in this case, you're in the real estate industry. I think that your industry is more than just, I know maybe some people think you just find homes, but it's not like that. You're actually, it's one of the biggest decisions. I mean, not only somebody's uplifting everything from where they're from, looking for a new home. So, which by definition, a home is, it's one of the biggest decisions. It's like the human right, so to speak, right? It is a human right to have your own home.
It is
a safe place and all that. So in a sense, you're more than just finding a somewhere to live for your clients. So I want to learn more about that. How did you decide to get into? Because I know you mentioned you guys were in the restaurant industry, or as in a restaurant, and so what got you into that transition from, because it's completely different, right?
Right. It is. It is completely different. And, sort of switching gears from the hospitality industry to real estate, it's a fair question. And, with that business venture that we had, the restaurant, my dad always wanted to open sort of a Middle Eastern restaurant, sort of, convey, because there wasn't really good representation as far as, the food of our sort of background, especially like the Gulf area where we come from. So I'm originally from Saudi Arabia. So
Right.
if you know Dubai, we're just right next door, right? So yeah, we had a really good run for 2 years. But as far as transitioning into real estate, the family has always been involved in real estate. We've always bought and sold real estate. And we know the importance of real estate. Like you mentioned, when someone relocates, and especially if they're coming from, Mexico or Costa Rica or even the Middle East as well. Like I work with a lot of clients that are relocating from different provinces or even from different countries as well. It's important to have that person that you could trust, obviously, but it's such an integral part of making that transition official. Like once you actually come to Canada, that's one thing. But once you own a property, you're the owner, you're the landlord. So it's just it comes with an attachment of maybe like pride of ownership. This is probably the best way I could explain it. So obviously it's a big decision. So as far as me personally transitioning into real estate, it just made sense. After we closed the restaurant, which we did luckily right before COVID, 3 to 4 months before COVID, it's perfect timing.
Perfect timing.
I know it couldn't have been honestly planned better. But yeah, I thought about it. I was like, okay, we own a couple of properties. Especially with negotiations, to circle back to the immigration point. My dad's sort of knowledge of English is a little bit limited, so I was always in contact with the realtor. So I was sort of in the trenches when it comes to negotiations and writing offers and conveying that information to my dad, who's the client, and I'm the client. So it's similar. It's very similar. So I was like, you know what? I know the business to a certain degree, and I feel comfortable diving into it. And it's been a great ride so far.
Awesome. Yes, I know. I keep seeing your post sold, and I follow you because again we met. You were just writing your exam, I believe, or
Correct.
you were studying for that. So I've been following your sort of your career, so to speak, and I can see where it's gone. And you know what? I'm really proud of your success because I think that it's a testament of what we can accomplish. I'll tell you a personal story. I used to believe. So it's interesting because immigrants or two people can see the same thing differently. So I used to see it as I'm an immigrant, I'll never achieve anything because I was not born here, blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I met somebody else that had accomplished some amazing things, and then my excuses died. It's like,
right, 100%.
Okay. You know what I mean? So it's interesting because you come up as with that mentality to a country like this, because it is intimidating. Different cultures, different language, different customs, different procedures. Everything is obviously 100% different. The weather is different.
Right.
So it can be very intimidating. And if you don't, but again, back to the purpose of this conversation is to show people that no, it can be done. Whatever it is that you want, you're coming to Canada, the doors are there. You just gotta go and knock on them, and perhaps even contact us. Contact HAZEM, and and tell them, what, I'm moving, or I would love to get into real estate. Would that be something that you guys that you would be able to, be willing to do, HAZEM?
Absolutely, 100%. You know what? I've been there, I've done that. So it's a natural step. It's your transitioning. You need that sort of help, and it's a good thing to actually be expecting that, because once you expect that cultural shock, whether it's language, weather, all these things, it becomes less of an impactful sort of thing that you're going to experience. So you're going to know from the get-go, hey, I'm going to run into this. That's okay. But just to circle back to the immigration or the immigrant mentality, or the advantage versus the disadvantage, I strongly believe that you being an immigrant is a huge advantage here in Vancouver. It's an absolutely huge advantage because it's a huge market here in Vancouver. There's lots of opportunities, but people that were born here, for the most part, their lens is not as sharp as someone that comes into Canada for the first time, like that was born there. Your mind is always going to be contrasting, and it's going to be comparing how things are done here in Canada and Vancouver specifically too, to how it's done in your hometown, right? So you're going to think, okay, well, why are they doing it a certain way? Like, we're talking about business here. We're not just talking about real estate. Well, you feel that there's maybe a gap in this market. You've identified it. Why? Because you have that background, that advantage, the immigrant advantage, and you also have that advantage or that sort of motivation to prove yourself, right? It's I always compare myself to, like, I think of myself when I was in Saudi Arabia, for instance. Even though we've lived in different parts, I lived in Saudi for a few years. Being a native and then in your home country, it's a little different. You don't have that edge. You don't feel that motivation. You have to be like
the urgency.
There's no urgency. I mean, you're there with your family and your friends, and everything is good, and like your cousins and this and that, right? Exactly. But the nice thing about Vancouver, to be specific, it's a huge market. We're not talking about maybe Saskatchewan or other parts of Canada. We're talking about Vancouver, Greater Vancouver. There's always demand. There's always going to be demand, and it's just a matter of just using that advantage that you have, that extra lens to your advantage.
Okay, so now I'm want to move to Vancouver. How does that look like when it comes to acquiring a home? Because I've heard that if you're not Canadian, you can't immediately buy a house, or there's so many different things. So obviously, I know it's not going to be easy, but there's a way. What is the way?
Right. That's a great question. There's always ways. So when it comes to residential properties, before there was no, let me take a sort of a step back here. So prior to 2016, foreign nationals would be able to come here and then buy a property, no problem. We're talking about residential now. There was, you just pay fair market value, and then you transfer the title and you become the owner. In 2016, when we had the Liberal Party here in the province of BC, they passed down a 15% tax. That's a foreign buyer tax. Okay. And then when the NDP came into power later, they increased that percentage to 20%. So you're still able to do it, but obviously there's going to be a cost of doing business, which is 20%. Are you willing to pay the 20%? Or are you willing to maybe, wait until you get your PR? If you're working on it, if you're working with Canada Living and with Enrique, and you feel like, hey, maybe you're getting it soon, within a few months or a year, whatever the case may be, it might be worthwhile to just wait, right? So you don't have to pay the 20%.
So is that something that, you would suggest somebody to plan it in advance? Because obviously when it's not like you decide today and it's done today, right? So is that something that you would say, when you come to Canada, when you arrive, have a plan in place? Would you suggest that?
Right.
A goal.
Absolutely. You know what? I totally agree with having a goal. You need to work towards something. As far as if you're relocating from, let's say, Mexico or Costa Rica or other countries in South America, I've worked with clients, like I told you before, with, they're relocating. Some of them have been to BC and they've been to Vancouver, so they know exactly what neighborhood, what type of city they're looking for. Are they looking for like something that's closer to like downtown versus, they know the different type and feeling of where they want to be and where they want to live. Because it's, with residential, with your own home, it's a lifestyle decision, right? But if you've never been to BC, it might be a good choice to maybe rent for a bit, rent for 6 months, for a year. Learn the sort of lay of the land, see where things are, and then see where you want to go as far as purchasing a property, where exactly you want to be. But I would say the first hurdle is just the PR if you're not comfortable with the 20%.
Okay. So what happens with the 20%? Do you get it back as a tax? Like, is there any way to, take advantage of that 20%?
Okay, quick disclaimer, I'm not a tax lawyer, I'm not a CPA, but what I can tell you from personal experience is I've heard from other CPAs is that, and I want you to verify, is that perhaps if you are, if you're buying a property now and you're getting your PR within maybe 6 months, you might be able to get reimbursed the full amount. That's if there's, huge urgency, you need to make that purchase now. But my advice always is to wait till you get your PR. And a really useful tip is not wait till you get your PR card, but actually change your SIN number too, right? Because
Okay.
sometimes I've been in a situation like this where the lawyer would say, hey, for conveyance of the property, once everything is done, and it's just completion date. Now they're changing the title of the property, and then the buyer already has a PR card, so they're not paying the 20%. But the SIN number starts with 9, and you know what that means, Enrique, right?
Yeah.
For those that don't know, it's the newcomer / immigrant sort of SIN number till you get your PR. Once you get your PR, the SIN
Non-permanent.
number is going to be exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So if
no,
you're
I've
on a
had
work
that.
permit, study permit.
Yes, I remember that actually. I used to deal with it a lot. And as soon as you see a number 9, it's a filter, it's an identifier. Of
Oh
course,
yeah.
don't it's not not very well known, but and when you're in the sales industry or in this type of industry, you do have to know these things so you can avoid any misunderstandings. Because it can be, imagine you're expected to pay a certain amount, and then all of a sudden you add 20% to this. That's quite the
Oh
hit.
yeah, oh yeah. It's and you get to pay. It's a lump sum payment. So, but yeah, we were able to mitigate that. We just pushed the completion date a day or two. It's
Okay.
quick. You just go to Service Canada and update the SIN number. So yeah,
Okay.
but
So
luckily, yeah,
obviously, you do have a team that works around you. So if I go, hey, this is what I need, can you help me with that? And then you have a set of people that you work with, or how does that work?
No, that's a great question. So I have a team of 2 other assistants with me as well. So in terms of what we do, we focus only on sales, so residential and commercial sales.
Okay.
We don't sort of physically show you properties if you're looking for a lease, but we can guide you. We have resources. So if you're if you have any questions about maybe different neighborhoods or areas in Greater Vancouver, shoot us a quick email at clientcare@hazemsultan.com, and I'll leave the email there with you as well. I've got a set of resources, things that you want to sort of take a look at, and just to get a sense of what type of neighborhoods you want and what type of schools and whatnot, right?
Of course, I completely understand. So what is the diversity of your client base? Do you work with only certain geographical area, or what is your, what is your area? Or again, back to, do you work with everybody? How does that work? Tell me.
Yeah, that's a good question. So we don't work with everyone, and not everyone wants to work with us. It's a fit, right? It's always a fit. In terms of geographically, we started out working in Fraser Valley, Greater Vancouver. I'm based in Vancouver, and my office now is in Cole Harbour. But that was at the beginning. But now we've just sort of re-strategized, and we're just focusing on Greater Vancouver. So that is Vancouver, Burnaby, Richmond, North Vancouver, and West Vancouver. So this is sort of our marketplace. We're experts in that marketplace. And we'd rather that if a client wants to maybe go to a different market, we'd rather just hand them off to someone who is that's going to take care of them and knows the market inside out.
All right. Well, I think that we've spoken enough about business, sort of speak. I would like to know what on a different. So Vancouver is known for various things. Amongst that is food, the diversity of food.
Oh yeah,
that's actually my favorite thing. I can step out onto Robson Street and I have whatever I want. Chinese, Vietnamese, Japanese, Korean, Persian, you name it is there. I even tried Afghan food.
And Afghan food's good. Oh yeah. No, you know what? The food scene is awesome here, especially on Robson. Like it's amazing. It's amazing that the diversity of foods and restaurants and the options that you have. It's mind-boggling.
So as a would it be safe to say as a Middle Eastern person that you are? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So as a Middle Eastern person that you are, your food is very rich in spices and in flavors and whatnot. What other foods have you found non-Middle East that
that's a great question.
You have actually enjoyed and that you would recommend?
You know what? Yeah, you know what? I love. That's a good question. Honestly, there's a lot of cuisines that are really good, and there's lots of great dishes. Like one thing that comes to mind is sushi. Sushi is huge here in BC.
Yeah.
And sushi. I would say probably sushi. Italian. I love Italian too, but I would probably go with sushi. Sushi, nothing beats. Nothing beats like maybe 2 special rolls on a Wednesday night.
Is there a specific location that you would suggest? Because obviously, I do know some are, they're all great, they're all good, but there's some better than others. So would you suggest that you have personal experience? Is there a location that you would suggest anywhere in the city, anywhere in Vancouver, that you would say, you know
Okay.
what, this place, every time I go, it's on point?
Okay. I would say there's a few names. Miko is a great one.
Miko,
Miko.
where's that?
Miko is great. It's in just by Convention Center, Cole Harbor.
Okay.
Miko. Yeah, I've been there a few times. It's really nice, and the food is, and you could tell the quality is a little bit better than your sort of average sushi place. But as far as other places like sushi, yeah, I would say honestly Miko, and then maybe Momo Sushi on Robson too. That's a staple. I mean, it's been around for forever.
Momo sushi, yeah, yeah. There's again, you know, the selection is so great, and because we are actually known for sushi actually, and I've been around the world and I have tasted their sushi, and it's not the same. Like, no, I don't even bother anymore.
Oh, really?
It's,
Hey,
yeah, I don't even bother. Like, no, 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 it's okay.
I
Um,
heard that even in Japan they don't eat proper sushi. They eat something else like sashimi
really?
or yeah, that's what I heard. It's like they rarely eat it. So I don't know.
So they have to come to Vancouver to eat sushi.
Pretty much.
That's funny. All right. So just to wrap it up, what advice do you have for a potential new immigrant or somebody that has just arrived? What is your, you know, what do you want to leave us with?
Have a game plan. Have a game plan in mind, right? Assemble the right team. You have a great team here at Canada Living. You've got all the services that you would need. Obviously, Enrique is, he's been able to put a great team together, a great company as well. And the nice thing is he's been here for a long time, so he knows the country. He's not one of those people that are, they live in Mexico or they don't live in Vancouver. No, he has that experience and he has that sort of trust, and he has those people and the professionals that he works with. So try to lean on him for the beginning to assemble and come to a plan, and have a vision in mind, have something to work towards, whether it's home ownership, whether it's starting your own business. Obviously have that game plan, and we're available as well. Like I said, even if you're looking for a rental, we're more than happy to just give you some resources, guide you in the right way, and then once time comes, we're always available too.
All right. Well, Hazem, I think that again, this is what I love about this Canada Living, and actually the name is so fitting.
Yeah,
It just dawned on me that one day, it just hit me. You know what? This is Canada Living is a collection of all of our stories. All of us from. Did you know that there's over 200 nationalities in Canada?
200?
Yeah,
No way.
I didn't
That's
know
insane.
this.
Wow,
That
I
is
thought that number would be
insane.
around like 50 or 60 maybe, which is still a lot, but yeah. Wow, I learned
So
something new.
So you know what? I'm gonna have to live with that every time. Actually, I wanna some little tidbit that people didn't know. But one of my favorite things is this. Connecting with us. Bridging the divide. That just because you're from my X country and I'm from this country, I'm from the opposite. It doesn't mean that we cannot come together. We cannot share our experiences, because at the end of the day, that is what makes us stronger. Our differences. And so this is one of my favorite parts, that doing these interviews, and we just started, and I can see, where we can go with this, because again, it's about Canada Living. And again, Canada Living is all about all of our stories and what all of us make it. So Hassan, thank you
100%.
so much. I really
No, it's
appreciate
been
your
an
time.
absolute pleasure, Enrique. Thank you so much for having me here.
And you know what? I will continue checking on your success. I think that I can only cheer you on, and if anything I can do, obviously I will do it. Because again, your success does not hinder me; instead, it inspires me, and that's what I want for our viewers to get. So thank you so much, as we'll be in touch. And again, all the best and all the
All right.
success.
Thank you so much, Enrique.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Take care.
Bye.